Today I'm going to talk to you about buying a second home when you're moving to Miami, and I'm going to get started right now. Hey everyone, my name's Jamey Prezzi. I'm a real estate agent in Miami and Miami Beach, and I work with my husband, Ognjen Prezzi. We are a real estate team here in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. Today I'm going to talk to you about buying a second home and moving to Miami, and I'm going to give you some tips. But first, before I get started, if this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another update. I do put out new videos every week. Also use the link in my information box and download our free guide today. I will tell you, when you register to download that free guide, there's not just a relocation guide there. I also include our most local real estate update. It's a trends magazine that has about 20 pages of what's going on and local market data. It's super interesting, and I hope you find it helpful. Okay, let's get started. So we were already seeing a trend of people slowly moving to our area. Over the past 20 years, Miami has definitely changed a lot. We are one of the biggest cities on the East Coast of the United States, and we have really good access to other major cities around the US and also the world. We are a very international city, and there is just a lot going on here. And we have beautiful weather all year long, except the hurricane season. But you know what? We deal with that to be in paradise most of the time. Anyways, with that said, a lot of people really do enjoy moving here. They like living here. They love the lifestyle, and we really live outdoors a lot. Now, when we're inside, we kick on the AC. Everyone always laughs about that, how much we all like to be in the hot weather. But when we are in our homes and in our buildings, the AC is very, very low. Anyways, there's just a lot to know about moving to our area, and I just want to give you a few tips if you're thinking about buying a second home here. One of the biggest tips I can tell you is you really have to narrow down your decision between buying a single family home or a condominium. I help many of our out-of-town buyers make this decision very quickly when they learn about actually maintaining a single family home here and the cost of insurance on a single family home here. But if you are really sold on buying a house, fine, but we have to really get targeted on the house, the type of ownership you want in terms of maintenance on that property. Do you want it to be waterfront or not waterfront? Do you want it to have a pool or not? Are you buying a home that you may renovate over time? So there's a lot to know about owning a house here that I can tell you. If you've never owned a home on the water in sort of an area where we do have sometimes flooding and we do have sometimes storms, it's very different than other parts of the United States. So number one, single family home or condominium, huge decision. The reason why it's also very important to narrow down if you want to buy in a condominium or a single family home is because if you're buying a condominium, we really have to get focused on what you're looking for, and that's so different than buying a house. And a condominium in one building, I mean, buildings can have hundreds of units. Like our building has almost 400 units in it. So if you're going between 10 buildings that have hundreds of units inside and then also single family homes, that is going to be very challenging to get narrowly focused on what you want to buy and targeted and start really analyzing that market so we can make sure that you pay a good price at today's market. So single family home or condominium, I can get into that in more detail at the buyer consultation, but that's where we really like to start. Next, you know what I'm going to say if you've watched any of my videos. How are you going to pay for the property, and what do you want that budget to look like every single month? So again, the cost of ownership on a single family home is very different than a cost of ownership with a condominium. Single family homes have insurance costs, and those insurance costs can vary depending on the location of that property, the elevation of the property, the condition of the property. Condominiums have many different variables that include the monthly condominium fees and anything that's going on inside of that building. So it's good to know what your budget will be and what budget you want to set, and then how you want that budget to look like every single month, and then determine how you're planning to pay for this property. Do you want to get financing or do you want to pay cash? If you are planning to purchase a condominium, with financing in our area, that is another layer of detail that we really have to go over, mainly because some buildings in our area don't qualify for traditional financing, because in addition to the bank qualifying you as the borrower, they will also qualify the building and how that building is being managed. That's honestly not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a bad thing if there's a building that you have your eye on and you really want to buy in that building and they're not eligible for traditional financing for one reason or another. And people will sometimes say, well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I don't want to buy in that building because of the situation going on that's creating an issue with the financing. But unfortunately, sometimes that's not all horrible stuff that can create that ineligibility, but you know, it's just something you need to know about. Again, we go over that at the buyer consultation, but just know that if you're buying cash or financing, two different scenarios. If you're buying a single family home with financing, very different than buying a condominium. Next, one huge mistake I see people make is not really understanding our neighborhoods. So sometimes I will have people call me from out of town and they'll say, you know, I want to buy an XYZ neighborhood, but they've never been to that neighborhood before. They're just looking at stuff online. We do work with a lot of buyers long distance. We're very comfortable in that process, but most of our buyers who we work with long distance really know our area before they actually get here. So look, that's another detailed conversation, but if you are someone who's very picky about location, you probably need to get over here and start driving through the neighborhoods and understanding the lifestyle before making an investment in a property. And then we should really talk about why buying here is very different than buying maybe where you're from. So what's very important to know is that we have obviously U.S. real estate trends and rules and regulations, but in addition to that, we also have Florida rules and regulations, and then we have city areas and things that people expect and don't expect. So we work in Miami-Dade and also Broward County. And so it's interesting to know that between those two counties, people sometimes do things a little bit differently. You cannot come here and expect a real estate transaction to happen exactly how it happens where you're from. I have a lot of clients from New York, and the way they do real estate transactions in New York is very different than how we do real estate transactions here. For instance, in New York, the agents negotiate a price and then the real estate attorneys draw up a real estate contract. Here, the real estate agents fill in the blanks on an approved contract that was developed and designed by local real estate attorneys in our Realtor-Association. So it's a very different process than just verbally sending in offers like some people do in New York. Here, we actually write an offer out, and no one will really take a verbal offer seriously here, especially in our competitive markets. And I even have colleagues who work in Naples, and they work completely different in some ways than we work here. So just don't always assume that everything is done the same way. And you know, I think the biggest thing that you should do is hire an agent who's well respected, has good reviews, maybe someone that you've been referred to or someone you trust, and take their advice and go with it. Because if you're constantly questioning everything they're doing because you do it a different way where you're from, it can really create a lot of angst in the process and maybe make the process not as enjoyable as it should be. Okay, so now I'm going to add a bonus tip because I think I have a lot more than just 5, but okay, let's continue. So one other thing that you need to think about is who will maintain the property when you're not here. Obviously, there's a huge difference between maintaining a single family home or a condominium, but if you are not here, who will maintain that property? Sometimes people buy investment properties and assume that the building maintenance will manage any issues with the condominium when they're not here. And that doesn't happen here. The building maintenance people here in most buildings, they're really just hired to maintain the condition of the overall building. They're not going to be hired out by individual owners to come in and do any type of handyman work or services. In fact, many buildings have rules against that type of interference between owners and the building maintenance people. So if you're not here, you really need to make sure that you can find someone who can assist you with those details when you are not here. And one last thing that I wanted to touch on, which is the bonus thing, is if you are planning on purchasing a condominium or a single family home and you do need financing, How you purchase that property is very important. There are very general ways in which real estate is purchased when you're getting financing. So very often the lender will say, will it be your primary residence? Will it be an investment property? Or will it be a second home? Those three things will make a very big difference in the type of properties that you are eligible to purchase and the type of buildings that you're eligible to purchase, how much you're going to put down, and just a lot of other details. So basically we're talking about buying a second home here, and so we're not talking about buying a primary residence. And so if you do need financing on a second home or an investment property, that is a very detailed discussion that you need to have with your lender and your trusted agent so you can get the best guidance on the ground when you're ready to hit the ground running and start the process of buying a home in our area. If you have more questions about buying real estate in Miami-Dade or Broward counties, we're always here to be a resource for you, and I will see you soon.